Hello everyone, I'm Tommy with Studio Sense. I'm really happy that you took the time out from your busy day to check out my video today. It's really hard to believe that it's almost been a year since I uploaded my first video. It's been such an amazing journey. It's been extremely gratifying, and I hope for you guys it's also been gratifying. I hope that you've learned a thing or two maybe, or maybe you've learned that your tastes are similar to those of others, or I hope maybe I've inspired you to pick up a fragrance or two that's become your signature scent or that you've really liked. Whatever the case may be, thanks so much for sticking with me. Today is another fragrance haul video. I'm very excited. I've got some really cool fragrance. Everything I'm going to show you is going to be my first experience. Maybe it'll be your first experience too. So when we return, I'll show you my lineup, that and more, so stay tuned. Hey guys, and welcome back. One reason I really like the house, the designer house Perry Ellis, is that nobody thinks Perry Ellis is going to do anything fantastic. At least they're not looking for it. They never in the past have set this incredible precedent, thrown us a wild card fragrance that has been cloned and people are trying to match or have been inspired by. Now don't get me wrong, Perry Ellis is a very good house, a designer house. They're very cheap in terms of most of their fragrances, and they've put out some really good offerings like Perry Ellis 360, Perry Ellis 360 Red. I've shown you in a couple of lists my Perry Ellis OG and the Perry Ellis Platinum. We're going to take a close look at, and those bottles that I just mentioned, same presentation here, and that is Perry Ellis Night. So now we have a nighttime offering with something like this. Is probably going to be very similar to a spring and summer fragrance, only a little bit darker, perhaps somewhat sweet. Maybe we'll have some cardamom in there, some rosemary or amber woods, something to darken it up a little bit, make it a little bit richer for nighttime wear and potentially date night wear. At least that's what I'm hoping. But instead of keeping you and myself in suspense, let's go ahead and jump into that presentation and we'll check out the juice. Box is a little bit banged up here and there. It looks like it actually may have been sitting on a shelf for a long time. As you can see, it looks like it's been squashed together. One thing I forgot to do is turn off the ceiling fan. If you notice that when I sprayed, the spray went in the exact opposite direction, that's why. However, I'm too involved in the video now to take my microphone off and take the time to stop the video, go over there and turn it off. So you're gonna probably see some spray doing some crazy things because the fan's blowing pretty heavily this way. All right, so Perry Ellis Night. I'll tell you one thing right from the get-go that I don't like about the presentation is the bottle. I don't really care for these bottles that have that kind of satin feel to them, but the reason I don't like it is it smudges so very badly, so you end up wiping it off. Now, if you're OCD, that matters. I'm not tremendously OCD, just a little bit, but that bothers me. And I don't really care that much about the presentation. However, for the name of the fragrance, Perry Ellis Night, it's a cool representation, right? The bottle is black and it's got that satin feel to it, so that's neat. The stopper is exactly the same as other Perry Ellis offerings in this same line as the Perry Ellis Platinum label, as you can see. Perry Ellis Night was released in 2010. It's considered a citrusy, fresh fragrance for men. In the top, you've got blood orange, you've got honey pomelo, and then citron leaf. In the mid, you've got geranium, yuzu, and cedar. And finally, it's resting on a base of amberwood, musk, and black moss, which is appropriate. So let's check that out. The fan causes the juice to go everywhere but on the strip, of course. I'm afraid Perry Ellis Night's going to be one of those fragrances. It's going to be really hard to tell how good it is on a strip. So what I'm going to do is spray it on skin. Now, I am getting some notes off a strip. It's not like I'm anosmic to it, but it's not as much as what I anticipated. Now, there's a bit of cedar in there, which cedar's in the base, so it's odd that I'm catching that off the top. It is lightly citrusy. That blood orange in there, it's not necessarily happening on the strip. Now, It's very fragrant though. I do like the fragrance and where it's headed. It is a little bit darker. It's definitely going to be a nighttime fragrance, just like the name implies. So they're hitting the mark on that one. I'm going to try it out on my skin. Okay, so that's a lot more pleasant. It's a lot better on skin. It's very citrusy. It's kind of a dark green citrus. Now, one thing Perry Ellis does in spades is it creates kind of a subtlety, but then when you think the fragrance doesn't have anything else to offer, it comes right back in there in the final lap and pushes forward some little bit of strength or some little bit of essence of uniqueness. And that's exactly what Perry Ellis Night's doing. As it's drying down on my skin, that blood orange is turning into a musky cedar with a little bit of citrus in it. Now there's no sweetness to this. That's one thing I really like about this. Although you know me and that I love gourmand fragrances, but it's really nice to see a nighttime casual fragrance go away and not depend on sweetness. So there's no sweetness in here. You would think with the pomelo, especially honey pomelo, and then the yuzu, and then the blood orange, that you'd have a little bit of sweetness in there. There's not a lot at all, if any. So in the dry down, you get a really dry yet elegant musk, along with the cedar in there as a fixative that gives it kind of a woody base. Definitely the note trifecta in Perry Ellis Night is going to be blood orange, cedar, and musk. So in a nutshell, if you're looking for a darkly subtle musk citrus combination for casual nighttime wear, it's going to be a little bit different than your sweet, semi-sweet gourmand fragrances out there, and might mix it up a little bit in your rotation. Perry Ellis Night, $17 for 100ml bottle. You can't beat that. Now this next fragrance is one that is not going to be a first impression for me. It is going to be a first impression from a bottle. I did have a sample, and if you remember, I forget, it was called like the Collector's Trio. Remember that with Robert Graham? I had the Collector's Trio, and it had Courage, Valor, and what was the other one? Fortitude. Courage, Valor, and Fortitude, and I'm happy to report that I have Valor. This is a 100ml bottle. I got it at a rack store, Marshall's I believe, for around $29.99, which is fantastic. This is not a niche fragrance, but it is very much niche quality. I was very surprised at Robert Graham. As I mentioned in my first impressions video, Robert Graham is an ambigram, not an anagram. It's an amb with a B, ambigram. Ambigram is when you take one name, pieces and parts from a name, and you put it together and make a name. Like Brad and Jennifer being Benifer, that kind of thing. That's an ambigram. So similar to that. So Valor was one of my favorite out of those three, and I'm super happy to have this today. I just want to show you the presentation, and we'll talk a little bit about the fragrance because I've talked about it in the past. So I'll give you some more thoughts on that, but it's definitely worth checking out the presentation. These bottles are boss. Check it out. Robert Graham's Valor. Is that not a cool bottle? I really like the presentation. Now in the larger bottles, you'll see the lid. I'm going to show you a graphic here. That's actually going to show you what the lids look like in a little bit more detail. If you happen to get the trio, if you're like a completionist like me and you want to get all three of them, definitely recommend getting the lids that come with them. They're collector's items. They're really, really cool. However, the bottles themselves, again, designer bottles, niche-like quality. I am a huge, huge fan of coffee-based fragrances. This has Brazilian coffee. In fact, there's not a ton of information about the notes in this. It's a very simple breakdown. Sometimes the simplest things are the most profound, I have found anyway. And I think this is the case for Robert Graham's Valor. So you got clary sage, Brazilian coffee, and amberwood. What else do you need, really? You blend those three together in the right parts and amounts, and you end up with Valor. Truly amazing fragrance. I absolutely love it. It is a banger. This actually lasts for a coffee-based fragrance. A lot of times coffee fragrances, they end up being gourmand and sweet. don't last a tremendous amount of time, especially in summertime. The sweet fragrances kind of die off, and especially a summer like this when we have 75% humidity, it's really hard on fragrances that weren't designed for high heat. So this one will work in spring and summer. Watch it in that high heat. It will fare better than fragrances like Salvatore Ferragamo's Uomo Signature, simply because it's not as sweet. This is about half or a third as sweet as that fragrance, but it is just as enjoyable. Get your nose on this as soon as you possibly can. It's an amazing fragrance. It's definitely going to be a daytime, nighttime, casual wear fragrance. This isn't something that you can necessarily dress up, but it smells amazing as a lightly gourmand fragrance. It's definitely something you can rock out at the office or in close proximity to other people without being worried that you're going to choke them out or be very cloying or heavy-handed. This is one of those fragrances the coffee-based fragrances that everyone will love to smell on you. They'll ask you where you got it. It's definitely going to be a compliment puller, a compliment getter, and that's, I'll admit, it's one of the reasons I got it, but that Brazilian coffee note, supremely good, supremely good. Our next fragrance has been described as a tea fragrance, and I'm excited because I don't have very many tea fragrances in my collection. It is from the house of Bulgari. It is called Bulgari Pour Homme Soir. Now this is an eau de toilette, 100 ml bottle, and I'm excited to check out that presentation with you. Bulgari Pour Homme Soir. By far, out of all the bottles that I've sprayed today, this one has the best atomizer. Did you see that juice just squirting out in a big cloud? It was almost overpowering for the fan to even push back on itself. So very impressive atomizer. Definitely going to put a good bit of juice on you. Now, top notes in Bulgari Pour Homme Soir is Darjeeling tea. If you've heard of Darjeeling tea, it's been called the champagne of teas. It's like very popular as a tea, as a drink to make. It's got kind of a musky, sweet tasting notes in it, similar to muscat wine in terms of flavor. Slightly citrusy, slightly vegetal. It's really a perfect combination. Lighter and less astringent than is black tea, but more layered and really more complex than most green teas. So in the top, you've got Darjeeling tea. In the mid, you have papyrus, and in the base, you've got amber and musk. Let's try it out on skin. I've been wanting to get this fragrance for a while. Yeah, you can definitely control how much you spray just by your pressure. Just keep that in mind. Right from the start, what I really like about this fragrance is that this is a subtle creature. This is not a crowd-pleasing, mass-appealing banger. It's very subtle. This is one of those very, very layered, complex fragrances that I can capture some essence of top notes there, that little bit of tea. Now, it's not a very strong tea, but again, it's perfect the way that I described it earlier. It's slightly green, slightly vegetal with a little bit of citrus in there. It's almost like someone took a tea drink, squeezed a lemon until there was 3 or 4 drops of lemon, and then threw the lemon away and stirred that up, and that's what you're getting. But it does something even more delicate than that. What's interesting is on my skin, it almost has a floral essence about it. So there's a little bit of a floral intelligence here. So you get the musk, you get the amber, and then you get that white dryness from the papyrus. You get the woody white dryness with some a little bit fuzzy in your nose. That builds and builds and makes this the kind of exotic, very elegant fragrance, masculine fragrance that it is. You can definitely dress this up. Again, if you're going to a job interview, if you're going to an upscale event, whatever the case may be. Generally speaking, Bulgari Pour Homme Soir is going to be a spring and summer fragrance. Next up is a fragrance that I'm really looking forward to checking out. Now, normally I would have saved this for cooler weather because that's when you're going to best utilize this fragrance, is in the cooler weather. However, because we are still under the umbrella of the Stay at Home initiative, there are still lots of fragrances that you can rock out at home that you would normally wait until that specific season. One of those fragrances is Mercedes-Benz Club Black. That's right, this fragrance has been called the Vanilla Bomb, Vanilla Killer. It is a wonderful vanilla-based fragrance, wonderful based on the reviews. I'm only going to give you my honest opinion on this based on how it smells and how it looks. I've really enjoyed Mercedes-Benz fragrances in the past. The flagship fragrance, Mercedes-Benz Club, was really, really good. That was my very first, that was among the first videos that I actually did on my channel. And I was really impressed with especially the longevity. The performance of Mercedes-Benz in the past has been really, really good. I'm expecting this to be really good as well. So let's go ahead and check out that presentation. Mercedes-Benz Club Black. Now I can actually smell in the air the vanilla that I sprayed. I think I sprayed 2 or 3 times. Really, really strong vanilla. Now, definitely gonna be some aroma chemicals in this. The aroma chemical counterparts are much more affordable and thus they can pass that savings on to us. That's why discounters can sell this for the price that they can, under 30 bucks or under 40 bucks. My apologies. Got this at fragrancebuy.ca. I'll leave a link below if you want to check it out and order it for yourself. It was released in 2017 as a spicy sweet gourmand fragrance, and that it definitely is. The unfortunate thing about it is now discontinued. They're no longer producing it. So I highly recommend that you grab one of these up if you like spicy sweet gourmand fragrances, and specifically if you like vanilla, because that's really where this is going, is the vanilla territory. Like Tobacco Vanille by Tom Ford, this is going to be sort of similar, maybe not have that high quality smell to it. In the top you've got bergamot, in the mid you've got jasmine and frankincense, and finally in the base you've got ambroxan, you've got woods, some woody notes in there, you've got vanilla of course, and you've got benzoin. Some people have said this is like Herod by Parfums de Marly without the tobacco note. Now, overwhelmingly, people have indicated that they feel that this is a youthful fragrance, and I'll give you that. It is very energizing. It's got that youthful vibe. Then again, I'm definitely not one of those people that likes to put labels and numbers on things, so forget the number, and just in general, if you do like sweet, vanilla gourmand fragrances, this is definitely the Vanille Bomb. Really like that presentation, by the way, the black, and you've got the silver Mercedes logo against the black is awesome. You can see the juice, which is amber in color. That's really cool, and you don't have to worry about a lid or a cap because it's built in to the bottle. Now, the only beef that I have with this is the same beef that I said in my original video with the Mercedes-Benz Club flagship fragrance, and that is it doesn't sit very well. If you look, there's not a lot of space. You sit this down. If you sit it on a dresser or on a coffee table or something, just be very careful because if you bang it, it's definitely going to fall. It topples very easily, so you might want to lay it down if you're worried about that happening. But other than that, overall, lovely presentation. Really like the bottle and specifically the colors. In high heat, this is going to be very, very heavy. It's going to be like running water over a rag and trying to breathe through the rag. It's going to be heavy-handed, it's going to be cloying, it'll choke you out and those around you. Highly recommend not wearing this in the heat of summer. However, again, you can definitely rock this out in your home in a temperature controlled environment in AC. It's going to be great. Heck, I'm going to spray this on tonight and wear it. Rich, dark vanilla, a bit on the boozy side, just slightly boozy. It's a gem if you're looking for a sophisticated dark vanilla. Whether you're wearing it in wintertime or in your temperature controlled environment, this is going to be a casual daytime and nighttime, great for date nights. And again, I'll leave a link at fragrancebuy.ca if you're interested in purchasing this discontinued gem. Well guys, that's it for my fragrance haul. That's my Achilles heel. Discontinued fragrances and very inexpensive fragrances. At least inexpensive fragrances that there's something about them that may show a uniqueness or an originality or a creativity about them. And so I purchased them with that hope, and I share those first impressions with you, and I thank you so much for coming along. As always, thank you so much for your support on my channel. Let's get to that 4,000 now. We're headed in that direction, and we'll do some great giveaways along the way. I'm Tommy with Studio Sense, and I'll see you next time.